Hey guys, so I've gotten a lot of requests over the past month or two to do an updated favorite foundations video. I haven't done one in a long time, and I think I've only done like one other video, and it was maybe like 2 years ago, so things have kind of changed a little bit. I'm also going to talk about my favorite concealers, because honestly, as of right now, I don't really have a lot of foundations or concealers, because Quinn and I are moving into a really tiny space in a little bit, like a few weeks from now, and I'm starting the process of like downsizing my makeup collection to a third of the size that it used to be, which is stressful, but it actually feels kind of good. And with my skin issues going on, I'm trying to figure out which foundations aren't making it break out, and so I've kind of like tossed the ones that I wasn't sure about. So that left me with just a few foundations and concealers. But I know a lot of you guys want me to start doing more like fair skin videos. I used to do those quite a bit, like products that work for pale skin or products that I like most for my skin tone. I already did the favorite highlighters for pale skin video a few weeks back. Today's foundation and concealer. I'm also going to be doing a contour video. Do you guys want me to do like powder and cream in that? Let me know. Anyways, I'm just going to start with foundations, and before I show you guys the foundations that I have, just keep in mind I'm really pale, but I'm not the palest person out there. Like, I'm sure plenty of you will be more fair than I am, so just keep that in mind. I don't always reach for the palest shade, but usually I do. Okay, first off is my favorite foundation, and I bet you guys can guess what it is. Sea Salt by Tarte. Just kidding, this is the Rainforest of the Sea foundation. I've had this for about a month or so, but this is what I've been using nonstop every day since I got it. I tried a sample of it a long time ago and I was kind of on the fence, but for some reason I tried another sample and I just fell in love. This is in the shade Fair Beige. I bought this foundation because I've done tons of research on dermatitis, which is what I have, and how to get rid of it, what kind of makeup you should use while you have it, even though you shouldn't really be wearing makeup. But everybody said that they switched to Tarte and it made an improvement in their skin and didn't bother it at all. So that's why I gave this a shot, and this definitely does not break me out anymore. It feels really good on my skin. I love the coverage of this foundation. I would say it's a light to medium coverage, which I like. And this is probably one of the only foundations that I prefer to use a brush with rather than a beauty blender, because when I use a beauty blender on its own, I feel like it soaks up most of this foundation for some reason. So with a brush, it definitely makes it look a lot better. This is what I'm wearing today. I have dry skin, and this does not cling to any dry patches at all. It actually makes my face look a little bit glowy. It's not like a luminous finish foundation, but it makes my face look healthy. They do have a lighter color, which is Porcelain. I think that's the only lighter color. There might be another one, but I'm not sure. Porcelain is the lightest one, and I tried that, but I felt like it was almost too light for me, like it was borderline a little too pale. So I decided to opt for this one. This is actually a little bit more of like a beigey pink undertone, and I'm yellow undertoned, but honestly, it doesn't really look that obvious, like the difference from my face to my neck. If I really look for it, I can tell that there's a slight color difference, but it works for me and I love the finish of it. I love this foundation. Next up is a funny situation. This is my Ofra Absolute Coverage foundation, and the reason it doesn't have any labels or a lid is because I'm an idiot. When I went on a business trip a couple months ago to work at IMATS LA with Smith Cosmetics, I had a carry-on bag and I had all my like liquids, like my foundations, concealers, perfumes, nail polish, black nail polish, in my little quart-sized see-through bag that you have to put through the conveyor belt thing. And when I put my suitcase up on there, I took the bag out and then it exploded everywhere, of course. That would only happen to me. So all my shit went all over the conveyor belt. Like, I had to scramble and grab my nail polish, all my makeup. I had like 20 things in that bag. I don't know how I made it fit, but I did. And turns out that I didn't realize this until I got to my hotel room, but the cap on my nail polish had unscrewed a little bit. And so when I like pulled this bag out in my room, all the black nail polish had gone all over my makeup, including this. So I only just now took some acetone to it to get all the black nail polish off, and it removed the label, and also I lost the cap, so I don't know what happened about that. This is the lightest shade in the line. I can't remember the name, it's either like 0.5 or 1 or something like that, but it is the lightest one. I got this about 4 months ago and I wore it non-stop. I was obsessed with it. It's like a medium to full coverage, I'd say, but it does not feel heavy on your skin. It doesn't have a luminous finish, but it's also not matte. So it's kind of like the Tarte one, like it's a little bit glowy, but it's not overwhelming. Doesn't cling to dry areas. Honestly, this is probably the most flawless looking foundation that I've ever tried on my face. It just made it look so smooth and nice and soft. Like, I was shocked. It is honestly just like the prettiest finish I've ever seen in a foundation. Doesn't oxidize, by the way, the Tarte one does not oxidize either, and it just looked so good on my face all day. I would wear this for like 10 hours and my face would look almost perfect the entire time I was wearing it. I would still be wearing this every day if it weren't for the Tarte foundation, just because I don't want to upset my skin, so I'm afraid to try anything but the Tarte. But I can't wait until my skin is better and I can wear this again, because it is seriously like the most perfect foundation ever. This is probably the only foundation that I don't have any negatives to say about it. It's just mind-blowing. I don't know. The only thing I would say is, if you are wondering if you're in the the lightest shade or the second lightest shade, the second lightest one is a huge drop. It's like 3 shades darker. I tried both of them and I ended up giving that one to a friend. So if you're wondering, if you're on the fence, I would go with the lightest one if you're pale. And you can see next to the Tarte one, this one's definitely like a shade lighter. So this one matches my skin really, really well. All right, the third foundation I have is the Makeup Forever Water Blend. I know people either love this or really don't like it. I obviously really like it, but I think the coverage is the reason why people either love it or hate it. It is extremely light. It's called Water Blend, so it's mostly water with a little bit of pigment to it, which I know does not sound that appealing, especially if you have skin issues like I do, but I love foundations that don't feel like you're wearing anything. This literally feels like nothing. Even kind of looks like nothing if you only put like a light layer on with a beauty blender. It just looks like your skin, but a little bit better. So I will apply it with a brush, and then I'll apply another layer of it, and then it starts to look pretty good. But you can still see your skin underneath it. It doesn't look like you're wearing like a huge mask of makeup, and it feels awesome. Like I said, you can't even tell that you're wearing anything, which is amazing. I love it so much. It just feels so good. This one doesn't oxidize either. Honestly, my favorite foundations would not oxidize, because in that case they wouldn't be my favorites. But this is in the shade Y225, which matches my skin tone pretty perfectly, I would say. This is the shade that I was in the Ultra HD foundation. I haven't tried the MAC Face and Body, but I'm pretty sure that this is pretty similar to that. I think they have the same kind of feel. But yeah, if you don't like lightweight foundations, you will definitely not like this. But if you like lightweight, barely there foundations, this works really well. So when I wear this, obviously my blemishes will still show through, like I said, so I just take concealer and cover them up. This one is definitely the most yellow tone so far out of those 3 that I've swatched. So if you have a strong yellow undertone, this would probably look pretty good on your skin. The only downside I have to this is that since it's so lightweight and so watery, I have to use like 4 or 5 pumps when I wear this, which kind of sucks, because then you go through it faster. But I think it's worth it if you don't mind spending the money on something like this and probably running out of it quicker than usual. I only have one foundation left, and I bet you guys can guess what it is. Kat Von D Lock It Foundation. I wore this nonstop, like maybe 6 months ago, until I found like the Ofra and then the Tarte and all that. I have 2 shades here, and I mix these together because they don't have a shade that perfectly matches my skin tone. I wear the Light 42 Neutral, which obviously is supposed to have a neutral undertone, but I think it is just slightly pink, at least more pink than my skin tone. And then we have Light 45, which is a little more like olive yellow. So I mix equal parts of these, and it's like the perfect color for my skin. These are really full coverage, heavy duty foundations, which I am starting to kind of stray away from, obviously, with my other foundations that I showed you. But I still like these. Like if I ever want to really cover up acne and stuff on my face, then I will probably go for this. But like I said, as of right now, I'm just using the Tarte. But I still really love this, and I think that if you want like that super full coverage, like conceal everything on your face look, these are great. So I just swatched 42 and 45 beside each other right there. Obviously 42 is the lightest foundation out of these that I swatched, and 45 is probably the darkest, but like I said, mixing those is like perfect for me. If you don't like the feeling of thick foundation, you're probably not going to like this because it is extremely thick. It can feel cakey if you apply too much of it, but I discovered that if I mix a little bit of the Featherweight Lock It Primer in with it, like equal amounts, it really cuts it down and it doesn't feel too thick, and it also makes it look a little more luminous. Like I feel like these on their own can look a little bit dry, but add a pump of this in with it if you have it, or any kind of primer like this one, you'll fall in love. It's great. Alright, moving on to concealers, I have 6 here. 3 are the same brand and product, but just in different colors. First of all, going along with the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation, I have the Aqua Sealer Concealer, just because I wanted to use like mostly Tarte products on my face. I got this a while ago and I loved it at first, and then I didn't like it for a little bit, and then I started using it again and decided I loved it. I don't know how that happened, but it did. This is in the shade Fair, by the way. I'm pretty sure this is the lightest one. I think I tried using this without foundation and it oxidized on my skin really bad, and so I just figured that it oxidized no matter what you wear it with. So that's why I stopped using it, but then I started using it again with the Rainforest of the Sea foundation, and it didn't oxidize at all, so I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't know. But definitely I would not wear this alone on my face because, whoops, just dropped it, but I caught it. Cat-like reflexes. That time I did, I put it under my eyes, on my blemishes, on my forehead, on my chin, and then I went out for a couple hours and then I looked in the mirror in my car and like the spots that I tried to cover up were orange, like 2 shades darker than my skin, so that was a good look. Anyways, I just really like this because it has like a medium to full coverage, I would say, but it's really light and almost kind of watery, so it doesn't feel cakey under the eyes. It doesn't like settle into my fine lines and look weird or scaly like that. It's actually pretty hydrating, like it feels like it's hydrating my skin. Moving on, I have 3 of the Kat Von D Lock-It cream concealers. I have Whiteout, which is white, which is amazing for people that are super, super pale. If you want this to like highlight your nose, your under eyes, anything on your face, this is awesome. I'm so glad that she came out with a white one. And then I also have L5 Neutral, which I mix these 2 together, and this is what I use to highlight, and it's like the perfect color for my skin tone. This one is a little bit more pink than me, but it's okay. When I mix these together, it looks pretty good. And then I have L7 Warm, which is basically exactly my skin tone. I use this one to cover any blemishes or anything like that. I love the packaging on these. I feel like you get a pretty decent amount of product, and the applicator is really nice too. It's a small doe foot applicator, and it's pretty flexible. I think these are a bit on the thick side, so if you don't like that kind of drying, thick foundation feeling, then you might not like these. They're not by any means the thickest concealers that I've ever tried, but they are just a little bit uncomfortable if you put too much on and then you like bake it with powder or anything like that. It might get a little too thick feeling. But I have worn these under the eyes too to like cover up my dark spots, and I don't feel any like cakiness or any dryness under there, so I personally really like them. So that's Whiteout, L5, and L7. I'm just now realizing that I don't have any drugstore options in the foundations or the concealers. I'm the worst! Alright, next up is another victim of the nail polish massacre. This is the Amazing Cosmetics Amazing Concealer. Still has the black nail polish on it and a little bit of toilet paper because I thought that would be a good idea to try to get it off. It wasn't. This is also the lightest shade that they have. I'm such a piece of crap, I don't even know what the shade of this is because it's covered. I will list all of the shade names in the description box, don't worry. But I know this is the lightest one. This is a really thick concealer actually. It's thicker than the Kat Von D ones, but I really, really like this for covering blemishes as well. It covers them like 100%. I don't need to do 2 layers or anything like that. It is super heavy duty. And I also sometimes like to use this to highlight my face, but I don't really prefer to use this one right under my eyes because like I said, it's super thick and can sometimes get a little bit cakey unless you only just use a tiny amount. By the way, with this, a little bit goes an extremely long way. Like, you literally only need the tiniest bit on your finger and it'll spread across like your entire face. This one's pretty similar to the Tarte and then the Kat Von D L5 as well. It's kind of like a neutral undertone, but it's extremely pigmented and that's why I think it does such a good job of covering blemishes. So that is my favorite way to use that concealer. And then last but not least, I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Concealer in the shade 0.5. This is the lightest one. This is a thick, pasty concealer. If I turn it upside down, it's not going anywhere, ever. It is the thickest concealer I've ever tried in my entire life, which kind of sounds off-putting, I know, especially if you're the kind of person that just hates thick consistencies of face products. The only place that I use this is right here in the darkest area of my under eyes. I'll put just like the tiniest bit, like literally like that much. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put that under my eye and blend it out with the Beauty Blender, and it covers the darkness and like the brown and purple undertones. Blue and purple undertones really, really well. I would never use this one to highlight my entire face. I wouldn't put it anywhere else other than just my under eyes, but I am kind of wanting to try like a shade or 2 darker for covering blemishes because I feel like that would also be a really, really good spot concealer. If you guys have tried that for a spot concealer, let me know your thoughts. So this is probably the lightest concealer out of the bunch that I have, other than the white, obviously. Alright guys, so that's it for my favorite foundations and concealers. If there are any other fair skin videos that you guys want to see, then let me know your ideas, comment them down below. And don't forget to tell me your favorites too, because I feel like you could help other people out in the comments down below with your favorites too. Alright guys, so that is it for the video. I hope it was helpful to you in some way if you're like looking for new foundations or concealers or anything like that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!